because you get the pronunciation right. All right, let's get straight to the agenda this morning. The United States has announced new visa restrictions on alleged persecutors of Nigerian Christians. Secretary of State Senator Marco Rubio revealed that the United States is implementing decisive measures against those responsible for alleged atrocities and violence targeting Christians in Nigeria and worldwide. The State Department will now restrict the United States entry visas for any individual or official who knowingly, directly authorize, fund, support, or carry out violations of religious freedom. The new policy explicitly applies to Nigeria as well as other governments and individuals engaged in persecution of people based on their religious beliefs. Let's discuss this morning, and I'll be turning to you, Ignatius Ofino, this morning. This issue of the new visa restrictions by the United States of America. Well, there are several caveats to that, and it says any individual or any official who knowingly direct or authorize, fund, support, or carry out violations of religious freedom. First of all, the question is there religious bondage in Nigeria?
There is one thing we must understand from the assertion of Karl Marx. Karl Marx made an assertion that when it comes to issue of religious argument, man tends to be what? Irrational. So when we are talking about Christian persecutions in Nigeria, it is real. But you cannot expect a sitting government to admit to such allegations.
Why?
He wouldn't do so. No sensible government or responsible government will admit to that spurious allegation that it is true.
But if you say government will not agree to that spurious allegation, this is also a government in Nigeria that is founded based on religious tickets. You hear Muslim ticket, Christian ticket, Northern, we have ethnicity and religion. So if we shy away from that and refuse to accept the fact that there is religious bondage, as it were, in Nigeria, then why do we then pretend to come up with these religious ticketing thing when it comes to elections?
When you talk about the political dynamics and dimension in Nigeria, it tilts towards two critical factors.
Okay.
The tribal sentiment is there. The religious sentiment is there. Okay. You know, when we are talking about the Muslim ticket, there was a rumored information from the north that a Christian cannot lead the north politically. Then I ask the fundamental question. T.Y. Danjuma, is this a southerner or a northerner? T.Y. Danjuma, is he a Muslim or a Christian? General Yakubu Gowon, is he a northerner or a southerner? 2, is General Yakubu Gowon a Christian or a Muslim? So when we are talking about religious extremism in Nigeria, it has been a problem. That was what we had. That was why Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu decided to do the permutation. You can see Kasim Shettima. He's not a Fulani person.
Yeah.
He's a Kanuri man.
Kanuri.
And when you look at historical fact, the Fulanis were unable to conquer the Kanuris. So, for political reasons, he decided to adopt a Kanuri man, though the Kanuri man was a practicing Muslim. But there is one thing we must understand in this country, that religious sentiment and tribal sentiment has always been what is governing us in this country. There is religious persecution in Nigeria, especially in the core north. The Christian minorities are being persecuted. That's a fact. America has its intels in Nigeria. They are there all over the places. They know what is actually going on. Now, we are talking about visa restriction for those funding terrorism in Nigeria, for those sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria. What about the issue of money laundering? Americans must be fair in whatever decision they are taking. Funds from Africa are being laundered to the West. Then the West are using this fund to run their economy. And there is no restriction. So where is the justice?
So you're saying this restriction is sentimental.
Somehow,
Okay.
it should be broad. There should be restriction for money laundering.
What if you're starting from a point?
No, why is it that, in Africa now, there is what we call the African Renaissance. That Africa wants what we call repatriation. Not just repatriation alone. Africa must be what? Compensated for the evil the West did against Africans during the era of the slave trade. That is one.
You mean reparation?
Yeah, reparation.
All right.
It must be there. Then again, there is what we call global warming. That was not being caused by Africa. It was caused by the industrialization from the West. And we can see, Africa bears the brunt to date. There is what we call global warming. It's affecting Africa.
Can't Africa help itself?
We can help ourselves.
But what's delaying us?
Africa has the mindset to help itself. But there is one thing you must also understand.
Okay.
The international conspiracy is also there.
So why can't we, as Africans, as the black continent, emancipate ourselves, as Bob Marley sang in Redemption Song, emancipate ourselves from mental slavery?
Because most African leaders today, they are political stooge of the West. Look at Gaddafi. Look at what they did to him. Look at Thomas Sankara. Look at what they did to him.
Patrice Lumumba.
Lumumba is there.
Steve Biko.
Yes, look at what they did to them. Illustrious sons of Africa. They did not just die like that. Their death came from the West. So we have to be frank and sincere to ourselves. Look at what they did to this man too, Muammar Gaddafi of Libya. Look at what they did to this man too, Saddam Hussein of Iraq. America came with that ideology, a false populism, weapon of mass destruction.
WMD.
WMD. Where is the weapon of mass destruction? None was found in Iraq because they never wanted someone. And who is that person?
Saddam Hussein.
And he played into their hand. You know how he played into their hand? When he decided to annex Kuwait. And he has forgotten that Kuwait happened to have a diplomatic ties with the United States.
Yeah.
So that was why America was able to invade. And not just invading. Eliminating him.
Okay, so now let's get back to Africa, Nigeria, and this issue of the visa ban based on religious intolerance. Now, are you saying that as this is sectional enough, that there might be consequences if the federal government does not admit to the fact that there truly is religious persecution in Nigeria? If
the world is expecting the federal government of Nigeria to admit, they will not do so. It's going to be an effort in futility.
So what will be the repercussions?
So the visa, the tendency is there for the international community to sanction Nigeria. And that will affect our economy. That will also affect our own image. I remember during the days of General Sani Abacha, when Nigeria was being sanctioned economically, it affected our
basically in 1996.
Yes, it affected our international reputation and image.
It even got to a point Nigeria could not even go for the African Cup of Nations in South
Yes.
Africa.
So the visa ban is not just enough. There must be prosecution at the International Court of Justice, Hague, Netherlands. There should be prosecution.
Our courts here have failed us.
It has failed.
So we have to go into
how just is the justice system in Nigeria?
That's the topic.
Our justice system has failed.
That's the topic for
our judges, are they truly just? An unjust judge cannot deliver a just judgment.
All right, let's talk security matters now, and moving from the visa ban. Remember, the topic for today is the state of the nation on the agenda, and here we have the Senate yesterday passing a second reading of a bill to amend the Terrorism Act to designate kidnapping hostage taking, and related offenses as acts of terrorism, prescribing the death penalty for such offenses without the option of fines or alternative sentences. Let's get to see what happened on the floor of the Red Chamber yesterday when this bill was passed for the second time, was read for the second time.
That this bill be now read the second time, say aye. Aye. And those again say nay. The ayes have it. Clerk of the Senate.
Mr. President, distinguished senators, a bill for an act to amend Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act to designate kidnapping, hostage-taking, and related offenses as act of terrorism to prescribe death penalty for such offenses without option of fine or alternative sentences, and for related matters 2025 SB 969, second reading.
Okay. Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to amend the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act to designate kidnapping, hostage-taking, and related offenses as acts of terrorism, to prescribe death penalty for such offenses without option of fine or alternative sentences, and for related matters 2025. Second reading taken. As a result of the importance of this bill is now committed to the committees on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, National Security and Intelligence, the Committee on Interior, and the lead committee will be the Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, to report back to the Senate within 2 weeks. I hope 2 weeks is good enough. Within 2 weeks.
All right, that was the Senate chamber yesterday, where the Senate president, maintained the whole thing, and also he took charge of plenary yesterday. Ofino, if you listen to them, the second reading of the bill, to amend Terrorism Act, and to also designate kidnapping, hostage-taking, and related offenses as acts of terrorism, and as it were. Now the question now is was this not long overdue?
It's long overdue. This is a welcome development, but long overdue.
Okay.
A country that does not believe in human dignity and the sanctity of human lives. Even slavery happened to be one of the heinous crimes against humanity.
Okay.
Slavery. The same thing applies to hostage taking. The same thing applies to kidnapping. The same thing also applies to what we call ritualists. It's a crime against humanity. Your fellow human being. We have to be honest to ourselves. This is long overdue. The rich are being kidnapped in this country. Now they are paying for ransom. So that shows that kidnapping is becoming a lucrative business.
Not only the rich, the poor too are being kidnapped.
Why should the poor kidnap the poor? Is it logical? We have to be honest to ourselves. It's the failure of the national government in terms of security. What is the DSS doing? What is the Office of the National Security Advisor doing? Before kidnapping takes place, those offices ought to have known to prevent it. If they truly love this country,
Security
the oath of allegiance. They took the oath of allegiance.
So what do we classify as terrorism? So who is a terrorist?
A terrorist is someone that inflicts terror on innocent lives. Someone who is also a religious extremist can also be classified as a terrorist.
So where does Nnamdi Kanu fall into this now?
The level of allegation that the federal government placed on Nnamdi Kanu, one of it was what? Terrorism-related offenses. Then there was what we call treasonable felony. The videos are there for us to see. There are people acting in proxy for Nnamdi Kanu. Nnamdi Kanu may not have killed, but most of his foot soldiers killed innocent Nigerians, especially those from the east.
Well, Nigeria seems to be at a very dangerous crossroads, with insecurity shaking the foundations of national stability and weakening public confidence in government authority. Last month was one of the bloodiest in recent years, as terrorists and bandits unleashed attacks across the northwest, north central, northeast. Among the tragedies was the abduction and public execution of Brigadier General Uba and 3 of his men in Borno State. But in his response, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu declared a nationwide security emergency, authorizing the police and army to recruit more personnel. He ordered the withdrawal of officers from VIP protection units for redeployment to conflict zones, and he also urged Nigerians to remain calm and vigilant, reminding the nation that we are in this fight together, and together we shall win. However, the decision came amid rising mass kidnappings of school children and even attacks on places of worship. The president then nominated retired General Christopher Gwabin Musa, the immediate past Chief of Defense Staff, as the new Minister of Defense. His nomination signaled a deliberate effort to bring competence and resolve Nigeria's worsening security crisis. Well, the Senate confirmed the appointment of retired General Christopher Musa, a former Chief of Defense Staff, as the Minister of Defense. And this decision was made following a thorough 3-hour questioning session by the lawmakers on Wednesday. The session featured rare bipartisan firmness, loud protests on the floor of the renewed legislative scrutiny of Nigeria's deteriorating security architecture. Retired General Christopher Musa, however, yesterday promised to do his best to ensure that Nigeria is secure and safe. Let's listen to General Musa speaking on the floor of the Senate.
Privileged and honored to be here, standing before you in this hallowed chamber. I feel blessed and privileged. The last time I was here, sir, was as a military man. Today, I'm standing in here as a retired general. To God be the glory, sir. I am General Christopher Gwabin Musa, retired, the 18th Chief of Defense Staff, Armed Forces of Nigeria. Standing here as a great honor to present myself as nominated by Mr. President as Minister of Defense of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I was born, sir, on 25th December 1967 in Sokoto. I spent my formative years in Sokoto before I went to the Nigerian Defense Academy as a member of the 38 Regular Course. I was commissioned in 1991 into the Infantry Corps, and I've been there all through my career. I've had the privilege of serving my country when I got to the Chief of Defense Staff of the Armed Forces of Nigeria. For me, it's a defining moment because he gave me the privilege and understanding of the dynamics of the challenges confronting our great nation, Nigeria. And standing here, I pledge to give my best in ensuring that Nigeria is secured and safe.
All right, retired General Musa speaking there. Musa faced the Senate yesterday. We'll still have more to listen to, but for now, he faced the Senate yesterday. It was a thorough screening. Do you think this man will be the right man to lead the Ministry of Defense in Nigeria at this critical time? Because you could be a very wonderful combatant and might not make a good administrator. But do you see him, changing the narrative at this critical time?
That is what we call public assurances. Rhetorical statement is not enough. There is one thing I'm going to say on this platform this morning. The president is overwhelmed by the spate of insecurity and violence in Nigeria. That is why he has decided to declare a state of national emergency on security. It took the president a very long time to take that decision. He's now being overwhelmed. Now, Abubakar Badaru, the former Minister of Defense, was given a political appointment. He was never a military personnel. So the president got it all wrong in the first instance.
Maybe that was a compensational.
He got it wrong. How will you appoint someone who is not a military personnel to head the Ministry of Defense? He got it wrong. The same thing with Bello Metawali. They are not retired generals at all. You know when Chief Olusegun Obasanjo was in power, he got it right. He appointed Lieutenant General T.Y. Danjuma as the Minister of Defense. When you want to appoint someone as the Attorney General of the Attorney General of the Federation, the person will have become a lawyer, not law. When you want to appoint the Chief Justice of Nigeria, the person will have read what? Law! When you want to appoint someone into the Ministry of Health, you will have read medicine. When you want to appoint someone into the Ministry of Science and Technology, the person will have read what? Engineering. The same thing applies to the Ministry of Works. Engineering. But here now, the Ministry of Defense, you decided to do what we call political compensation. You appointed Alhaji Abubakar Badaru, the former governor of Jigawa State. Then Bello Matawali, the former governor of Zamfara State. Both of them, they are not military personnel. So the president got it wrong. So I wouldn't blame Abubakar Badaru. You leave the stage when the ovation is loudest.
Was the ovation loud?
No, it was criticism.
Okay.
That he failed in that area. So he have to tender resignation. Assuming he never tendered resignation, I don't think the president will count it fit, deem it fit for him to resolve that cabinet. But for now, I cannot speak in proxy for General Christopher Gwabin Musa because I don't know his mind. And there is infiltration in the Nigerian army, a spurious allegation. That repentant terrorists happen to be members of the Nigerian army. Look at the way they lay ambush against General Uba. It was an ambush. It was a conspiracy. So rather sad and unfortunate. Now, there is what we call forensic investigation, especially recruitment that was made during the days of Muhammadu Buhari, starting from 2015. Every army officer that were being recruited from 2015, they should be subjected under forensic investigation to know whether any of them have alliance with Boko Haram. Because there is a problem. There is a problem on ground. The Nigerian armed forces has been infiltrated. I stand to be corrected. Though Irabo denied, but we know that what the people are saying is this: there is an infiltration in the Nigerian army. So it's a problem.
Well, part of the things he discussed yesterday was this issue of negotiating with bandits. We'll still come back to you on that. But responding to senators' questions, retired General Christopher Musa was unequivocal. He said, no negotiation with criminals. Nigeria must stop ransom payments, and states must not engage in deals that compromise national security. Let's get to listen to General Christopher Musa on this.
Issues of kidnapping coming from those areas. Collaboration, sir, is critical. No one individual can do this together. We must work. Sir, it says no to negotiation. There is no negotiation with any criminal. And I think that should be made very, very clear. We are working together. We're going to work together with the NSS office to ensure that states don't adopt such things, because those things compromise security. And to tell those that nobody, if you negotiate with them, they will never abide by it. It's just a moment. When they do that, they want to buy time to buy more arms, and then they were going to come. And we have seen it repeatedly. There are even localities that have done that. They still come after them. So, sir, it's a total ban on that, total ban on illegal mining, and all those other aspects that are bringing these things together. So I think we must be able to do that.
All right, Major General, that's retired General Musa there speaking. If you listen to him, he says no negotiation with criminals, and that Nigeria must stop ransom payments, and states must not engage in deals that compromise national security. Now, people are kidnapped. They need freedom. The kidnappers say you must pay a certain amount. If not, these people will be killed. Now the families get the money, go to these people, retrieve their loved ones, and these people go with the money. Are you saying that that form of negotiation should be abolished at that moment for those people to die? Or what is the security architecture of the country to avoid kidnapping at first?
It's rather sad and unfortunate. There is one thing that is very germane. Nobody wants to lose a loved one. Nobody wants to die. Those that are in captivity or in hostage today, they have become traumatized. Their family members are also traumatized too. Nigerian government don't pay ransom. It is the families of victims that pay ransom.
You can't be too sure. Because
the government...
No, when you say government doesn't pay...
They don't pay.
You can't be too sure.
Government don't pay.
Because
if government pay for ransom, government has already violated the rules. You don't negotiate with terrorists.
But rules are meant to be broken.
Rules are meant to be broken. Not this type of case. Criminals.
I remember that Chief Olufalaye was kidnapped on his birthday some years back, and then a ransom was paid.
By the government or by the families?
Who paid the ransom? Because eventually, when I had a one-on-one with him, he said the police came to a hotel where he found himself at Ifon. So, who paid the ransom and who bailed him out?
The government will never admit that they paid the ransom.
That's why I said you can never tell. When you say government
will never admit. Whatever government does not admit.
Does not subsist.
Does not subsist. That is what I'm insisting.
Okay.
You don't negotiate with criminals. I remember when this man, Anini and Monday Osubo, was terrorizing Nigeria. They were handling armed robbers. 1986-87, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida took a decisive action, and at the end of the day, what happened? They were arrested and prosecuted and executed according to the law. That is what they know about somebody that is proactive. But there is a problem on ground. International conspiracy. There is what we call state-sponsored terrorism.
Okay.
I will give you an instance. People are benefiting from terrorism in this country. Certain groups, the sponsors are benefiting from it. What about the issue of armed conflict? How are they getting these arms? They are buying these arms in dollar. How do they get this hard currency? The international community has a case to also answer.
But the international community would not get themselves involved if there's nobody from within. There must be somebody from within.
You know, when you are buying this weapon, you buy this weapon in hard currency.
Yeah, but somebody from within has to, you know, be the interface with the foreign.
So this
country.
currency must be traced. When it is being traced, how do they get this hard currency? The so-called bandits, the so-called terrorists. A lot of them has hard currencies. So you cannot rule out the finger of international conspiracy.
Oh, that's where you're looking at it from?
Yeah, that's where I'm looking at it from. There has been a series of accusations against the West that the West caused conflict in the Middle East and also in Africa, the scramble for natural resources in Africa. Do you know there was the Rwanda genocide in 1994 between the Hutus and the Tutsis? Do you know what brought the crisis to an end? When the Rwanda diamond was being declared as a blood diamond. Now there is banditry in Nigeria, illegal mining, until the international community decide to declare the Nigerian gold or the Nigerian diamond as a blood gold or a blood diamond. The issue of banditry will not stop in Nigeria. We have seen a case of what we call choppers landing in this forest where this gold is being mined illegally. And we have also seen cases of foreign nationals involved in this illegal mining of solid minerals in Nigeria. So Nigerian gold or diamond must be declared as what? A blood gold or a blood diamond if you want to put an end to banditry. Because when you are talking about these bandits, what they are more interested is what? How to mine the solid minerals in Nigeria. The lithium is also there. Without lithium, electric cars cannot work. Without lithium, the phones cannot work. So we have these resources in Nigeria. So now the state own the land, but when we are talking about the resources, it belongs to the federal government. But up in the north, they are mining the solid minerals and government is shying away from it. But in the Niger Delta, they say the oil belongs to every one of us. What a country and what a government.
Well, retired General Musa said the terrorists we are dealing with in Nigeria thinks Nigeria is so rich that when they come to Nigeria, they can make it. So Nigeria seems to be a greener pasture for terrorism. Okay, so anything they're doing anywhere, their target is to come to Nigeria. Let's listen to General Musa again.
With technology, working together with the armed forces, the police and other security agencies and the communities. I think that's where the gap has been. We will be able to address that properly. I'll be able to also secure these children and to stop issues of kidnapping all over the country. I think one basic area we're also going to look at is accountability of the armed forces. Whatever funds has been made, we want to make sure that the funds are properly utilized. And I think that is very critical so that we can make sure that whatever it is we're getting are things that will help us and assist us in the members of the armed forces in carrying out their action. What we have observed over time is that with the MDAs, we have not really been able to get the full support of the MDAs. We think the armed forces can solve all the problems. The armed forces solution is just 20-25%. Majority has to do with good governance, building capacity, working together with all the other MDAs. The police has a lot to contribute. Civil defense, all other agencies, including Foreign Service, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Interior. So we need to harmonize all this diplomatically again, our neighboring countries, Cameroon, Chad, Niger, Benin Republic. We need to also reach out to them because if they're able to secure their own borders, it means our own borders will be secured. If theirs is porous, ours is going to be porous. And because we have more to lose, the terrorists that we're dealing with think Nigeria is so rich that when they come to Nigeria, they can make it. So anything they're doing anywhere, their target, end state, is to come into Nigeria. And that's why it's important that we must make sure that we secure our borders and deny them the entry. And then those ones that are within, we're able to take them out.
All right, retired General Musa speaking there. His last statements there, I'm going to quote him. He says that these terrorists that we're dealing with think Nigeria is so rich that when they come to Nigeria, that they can make it. So anything they're doing anywhere, their target is to come to Nigeria. So have we created, as a country, have we created a safe haven for terrorists to come for greener pastures, as it were, in Nigeria? Are terrorists now jackpotting from other countries into Nigeria to cause more harm for the people living in Nigeria?
No one can enter into your house without any insider and accomplice it. There is the problem with Nigeria is the issue of identity. An Igbo man can be easily identified. A Yoruba man can be easily identified. How do you identify a Northerner, especially someone who is a Fulani man or an Hausa man who is a Nigerian? We have Hausa in Ghana. We have Hausa in Chad. We have Hausa and Fulani in Niger. The cultural affinity is there. So there is a problem. And we have over 1,000 illegal routes in the north. The cultural affinity is there. He is talking about foreign terrorists now. What about indigenous terrorists in Nigeria? When we talk about Boko Haram, is it not a local terrorist? Muhammad Yusuf, is he not a Nigerian? The founder of Boko Haram movement. When you don't say Boko Haram, it means Western education is evil. Is that not derogatory? Is that not a hate speech? That Western education is evil. Is that not a hate speech? So, whenever you want to present an argument, you cannot be able to defend what we call the indefensible. Now, defense spending in Nigeria is high. And the state of violence and insecurity also high. How do we correlate it? That's what we call negative correlation. Now, large chunk of our budget goes for defense. And yet, there is high rate of insecurity in Nigeria. So there is a negative correlation between defense spending and security in Nigeria. Is it supposed to be like that? It's not supposed to be like that. When you spend more in America, they spend more in defense. And yet, American defense system, so tight. That is how it should be. Nigeria spend more in defense, and yet, there is high level of insecurity. What a negative correlation when you're talking about empirism. It's so sad.
So what's attracting these terrorists to Nigeria?
Because our borders are porous, and because we have traitors amongst us who are also Nigerians. Citizens who don't love their country. Citizens who are not patriotic. Citizens that are willing to sell out. There was one time we had that Jonathan was trying to negotiate with the United States to come and help us to rescue the cheaper gas. At the end of the day, the information leaked. It leaked. That was why Jonathan decided to say that there are Boko Haram within his government. Security information are highly classified. You must not reveal the strategy that you want to adopt to capture the terrorists or the bandits. So that was why I said the armed forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has been infiltrated with repentant bandits, with repentant terrorists. There are informants in the Nigerian army. Among the police, there are also informants. Who do you know? You only know yourself. You don't know your colleagues. Even though they say esprit de corps. Esprit de corps that has become a fallacy. So there is a problem on ground in this country. I wouldn't know how they are going to introduce the military reform. Reformation of character.
So you're talking about reforms now.
Yes.
It's taking us to talking about regional security right now.
Yes.
Because it's part of the reforms.
Yes.
And then Retired General Musa here commended the Southwest governors for being in unison, especially when it comes to issue of security, and saying that their unison has made securing the Southwest efficient, and it has paid off. But let's listen to Retired General Musa again when he talked about regional security.
Particularly, why the Southwest seem to be doing very well, sir, is because all the governors agreed together. And that's why regionally, governors must come together, because 2, 3 are better than one. And that's why for us to them to understand that the bandits do not respect border. They do not at all. They are, in fact, where they get their strength is their ability to run when you attack them, especially around Sokoto area, they enter Niger. And once they get to Niger, you can't touch them until they come back in. And that's why I said it's important that for the multinational drone task force in N'Djamena, we need to also build up their capacity to hold up down towards the border with Mali and Burkina Faso, because we're beginning to have those, and that's why we're having those incursions into Kwara coming down southwest, and we must stop them not to get further than that. I think action has already been done and put in place. It is for us to harmonize all this, firstly to ensure that all the MDS know they have a role to play. And so one important aspect is our legal system that we need to look at. Most of our laws look obsolete, and because sometimes justice is delayed, then it becomes a problem. Because once punishment is meted immediately and action is done, it serves as deterrence to others. And that's why I think critical that we must be. And so I mentioned that all the MDS need to do the legal service, the correctional service, the civil defense, all mining activities have to be monitored properly, because that's another source of funding. All areas that they're getting their funds for, we must look at those aspects and stop and prevent them. And like we said, sir, the ability to also monitor where the funds are going to. If we're able to do that holistically using technology, sir, we'll achieve so much. Thank you.
All right, retired General Musa Deak, commending Southwest governors. Well, we're talking regional security now.
Yes.
It has paid off in the Southwest, at least to a large extent, not fully eradicated. However, should other regions be told before they delve into regional security, as it were? The North just had a meeting last week, and they've agreed to come up with a Northern Regional Security Network. Now, if these things happen, that's part of the reformation that we're talking about. So if these things happen, would it help reduce drastically, especially when you look at region by region basis, disparity in regions? Would you think it will help reduce this issue of insecurity drastically?
Do you know why it was successful in the Southwest?
Why?
They have a common ancestral history. Oduduwa.
That's
It
deep.
will also be successful in the Southeast.
That's deep.
because they have a common ancestry. Ohaneze Indigo.
That's
A
deep.
common history.
That's deep.
It may not be successful among the minorities because they have different cultural histories. So Nigeria is a complex society. So there is a problem on ground. Illegal route in the north, over 1,000 illegal routes in the north. Now, if a Fulani man from Niger is entering Nigeria, the Fulani from Nigeria accommodate him. He sees him as his brother. But he has forgotten that the one that is coming from where? Niger. He's a Niger national. You that is accommodating me, you are a Nigerian national. The difference is there. So there has been a problem in this country. So the only way we can be able to solve this problem, if we go by the way of what we say, regional security, there is no problem about it. But what about the issue of a security vote? The time has come for audit report of the security vote. The money belongs to the people. How will you be telling Nigerians that you don't need to investigate security votes?
Is it part of your constitution? Is it in the constitution?
That shows that the Nigerian constitution is it a model in Africa, let alone before the rest of the world.
But Nigeria is the giant of Africa.
On paper.
In all aspects.
When you say you are the giant of Africa, your defense system should be the strongest in Africa. Your currency should be the strongest currency in Africa. So it is more of rhetoric. Where is the technology? Do you know that India and Nigeria were at the same level of development in 1960? But today, India is an emerging nuclear power. The Nigerian army has an army trucks they used to ride, Tata. It was manufactured in India. Nigeria and India were at the same level of development in 1960.
Okay, so let me ask, what then is the problem with Nigeria?
The problem with Nigeria is Nigerian. And it is only Nigerian that can solve that problem. And it's as a result of the failure of leadership.
The leadership?
Yes.
How about the followers?
The followers
Because
themselves.
leaders are born they are born from the followers.
Now, there is what we call the conspiracy of the elite. against the Nigerian state, the educated elite, how many of them are willing to contest for political position?
Well,
It's a big question.
well, interesting. Yeah, retired General Musa enters the role with a reputation built on years of direct engagement in Nigeria's toughest conflict zones. Before becoming Chief of Staff or Chief of Defense Staff, he played key roles in operations. Yes, he played key roles in operations against Boko Haram and even the Islamic State of West African Province. That's what you call the ISWAP. Yes, commanding major formations in the northeast. His leadership in Operation Hadinkai strengthened interagency collaboration and weakened insurgent networks that once operated freely. Under his command, more than 1,500 hostages were rescued and strategic territories in Borno and Yobe were reclaimed. He also oversaw the acquisition of advanced weaponry, including attack helicopters and drones. His community engagement projects delivered 50 schools and 30 health centers in conflict-affected areas. He launched the National Youth Security Summit and scholarship programs that support 1,000 students each year. So because of our time, I want to ask, and to you, Ignatius Ofino, is retired General Musa the last hope of security renewal in Nigeria? You just have 1 minute.
It's a rhetorical question. Very rhetorical. But there is one, Nigeria must find a way of resolving its diplomatic row between those border countries like Niger, Chad, Mali. You can see the former president of Mali died when he led a war against the insurgents in Chad. That was where he sustained injury. And died.
Well, thank you, Ignatius Ofino,
It's a
for
pleasure
your
having me.
insights. Thank you so much. Well, that brings us to the end of today's edition of The Agenda. Well, remember, a secure Nigeria is possible when all of us play our own part. I am Chike Obogo. Keep staying safe. Keep staying tuned. And from all of us here, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.